Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and today we're talking conspiracy theories, as well as looking at Biden's Oval Office address regarding, guess what, the assassination attempt on former president and future wannabe dictator, I guess present wannabe dictator, future failed wannabe dictator, Donald Trump. But also, it's worth noting, every crime is performed imperfectly. To my knowledge, and admittedly I'm only familiar with the crimes people got caught doing on account of that's how I found out about them, but every crime, the person who's going to do it imagines something happening. And it's worth all the risks they take. And then they go to execute it. It's not really crime training. And awkward things happen. Unusual human interactions happen. And if you look closely enough at anything, you can see whatever you want. I give you any conservative's reading of the Constitution. Let me be clear up front. I'm pretty sure what happened is a disturbed individual got terrified by the news headlines and thought, I can solve this problem. I've got one of those man killers that the Republicans have worked so hard to put in everybody's hands. I'll just go take care of this problem real quick. Thus leading to the disaster we're all currently dealing with. However, I think it's useful for us. I think it's helpful for us to inoculate ourselves against some of the wilder stuff we're going to hear by just acknowledging it and talking about it. And I'll tell you why I don't think the most interesting things that could have happened actually did happen. But we're still going to talk about them, and I'll still throw out some wild speculation. Some really irresponsible speculation, but with the caveat that, even though I'm saying it, I will repeat many times throughout, I don't believe it. I think usually when something as interesting as a conspiracy is proposed, the correct answer is whatever the most boring thing could have happened is. That's what actually happened. Whatever the most mundane, boring, usually a little bit sad thing is usually what happened. Did Bush secretly let 9/11 happen? No, he was just an irresponsible president. All of his criminal acts were after that attack. So we'll go into that. First things first, let's take our medicine. Let us have a look at Biden's Oval Office address. Actually, that's second thing second. First things first is saying hi to the gang. How are you doing? Anti-corporatist. Good to see you. I keep flipping back and forth. And I'm watching what a couple of military officers think about the military portion of Project 2025. Seems to be that they like some of it and regard a bunch of it as poppycock. Yeah. What I would assume is that the military officers are seeing the parts that give them a lot of power and are thinking, man, neat. And are seeing the parts that obligate them to kneel to a king and essentially say, that'll never happen. That's what I think we're seeing. BC Carlton Martin, good to see you. Good to see you. Obsessive Audio, good to see you as well. Dominico, hello, my friend. Oh, we got the gang here. Tell you what. We're going to go into Joe Biden Bidening it up in the Oval Office. He just did the address. He already did it. But the magic of the internet. I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, so I'm going to look at it with y'all live. Joe Biden is addressing the American people. The topic of conversation. That'll be the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. My video appears to be screwed up, but we'll see. Anyway, here he is.
The nation. Let's listen to the president.
Fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep...
All right, well, already off to a rough start. Former Trump, it's just an awkward way to speak. But look, we already knew who Biden was, so I'm not going to rag on him for every little misstep. But, okay. Good. Demonstrating to the whole nation. Whatever.
Him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets.
All right. Delighted to hear the president acknowledging the dead here. Let's remember, gang, usually political violence, as with most violence, it ends up hurting more than was intended.
We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, so this is really healthy for America to hear. It is important that we not lose context. There is nothing Republicans would like more than to have one of their own, or when one of their own attacks their candidate, to be able to use that as an excuse to forgive all of their abhorrent behavior. This is a situation entirely of Republicans' making. I'm talking about the state of gun laws in our country, the anger involved in politics, the normalization of violence associated with politics. This is entirely the doing of Republicans. So it is smart and it is wise of Biden to put this back in context and to remind everybody, oh yeah, violence has been carried out against Democrats. If you're noticing for the first time political violence, it's because you're a Republican, you live in an echo chamber, And you probably aren't, a terribly empathetic person. But now you know. Now you know. Former Speaker of the House, her husband there was attempted murder on him with a hammer, for God's sake. How about the attack on the FBI? How about somebody trying to kidnap my governor? Killer. Also, by the way, they wanted to blow up a bridge and hold off law enforcement personnel by, killing them. That's the world we live in. Trump is just finally getting a taste of it. Wish that hadn't happened, but entirely for selfish reasons, because I just think it makes the world a worse place, and I want to live in a nice place. I have no sympathy whatsoever for Trump.
More information and intimidation on election officials.
Boom.
With a kidnapping plot against the sitting governor.
Thank you, Joe
Or an
Biden.
attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, or for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. The political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, or God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace.
Okay. I've been thinking about how this will affect the race. And I've heard people whining. Whining might be a strong word. I've heard people complaining that people are looking at this assassination attempt callously. I don't think it's callous. I think it's practical. I think everybody's lives and freedom are at stake. And to pretend like we have to take a knee on politics because a bystander was killed. A bystander was killed at a political event is crazy. That's like not talking about guns after a school shooting. That is a way to avoid solving the problem. How does this affect Donald Trump's election chances? I don't have the same take I've seen so many other people have that, this is going to carry Trump to the White House. The people that were considering voting for Trump will probably be much more enthusiastic about voting for Trump. The people who were on the fence, I don't think they're going to see this and say, I'm on his side now. Trump is associated with chaos. Trump's rally is where this chaotic event happened. Once again, Republicans were killed because of Trump. Think about January 6th. Ashley Babbitt and a bunch of cops. Those are the deaths for January 6th. Probably not all those cops were Republican, but nonetheless, a pattern is emerging. Republican shooter, dead. Republican, presumably, attending in the audience, dead. 2 others, critically wounded. Trump is chaos. So this chaotic event, I think, will serve to remind people of that. I really wish, I can't stress this enough, that gentleman who decided to take, once again, a Republican choosing to take our choice away from us, I really wish they hadn't taken a shot at a presidential candidate. That is not how things are done. It's simply no way to run a country. But I don't think the result of it is going to be a surge in the polls for Trump. I think he'll get some sympathy. Yes, he might get a bump. But for the most part, I've seen the American populace react to this the way I would have hoped they would react to similar events in the past, which is to look at the actual cause of the problem and blessedly to not fall for Republican talking points. Biden, here in this speech, doing a great job of putting all of this into context and being a force for reasonable behavior, which is exactly the contrast I want him to make to Donald Trump. Thus far, Trump's been tame as a puppy. But just wait. He really cannot last very long without flying off the handle. He will. He will. And when he does, people are going to say, oh, yeah, this is the guy that's causing all the problems. I don't get all the details. I don't get Reaganomics. I don't get yada, yada, yada. But I do know when a crazy guy's stirring up the pot, and that's Trump, not Biden.
All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. You know, that's how we do it, at the ballot box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people.
Not battle box.
Not in the hands of would-be assassins.
Okay.
You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division to shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of goals right now, nothing is more important
I don't know why it's been... All right, I'm going to be a little merciful.
for us now.
He doesn't have much width in the eyes to begin with, so helping the brother out. I don't know why Russia's interference online hasn't been discussed very often. I do suspect this is a symptom of having an older class of leadership. I'm not normally one who jumps on that train. I do think there should be term limits, but not because of people's age specifically. I just think you should have to live as an American and not a leader of Americans for the majority of your life. If you choose to lead Americans, most of your life should be spent as somebody being led. That is sort of, in my opinion, the purpose of democracy. But I do think there's something to be said for having the wisdom of the old in office as well as the perspective of youth. Because if we had more of the perspective of youth there, we could have addressed this 12 years ago. When you go onto a piece of political content, I've mentioned it on this show, it happens literally in our chat. Inevitably, Russian bots show up and they try to get people to argue. And if you see an account, or rather, if you see a comment in a political video that has a bunch of replies to it and it says something that just really makes you want to reply, like, what the hell's wrong with you? Or that's a wild read of this, or yada, yada, yada. Click on the username and have a look at their account. Say it's on YouTube. Maybe they have no videos. That's not that unusual. But have they only been around for 6 months? Is their username something like John364278977742978? Do their other comments around the internet all stir up political angst? Report them, because they're a bot. And you will see lots and lots of them. I'm delighted that Biden is taking this moment to address that, at least tentatively. I don't think he understands it even as detailed as I've just explained to you, much less a full briefing's worth of information. But he's got a limited time to communicate a lot of things, and that was fine. At least he's addressing the fact that Russia restarted the Cold War. It's now just the cyber war.
And standing together, we can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created democracy that gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force.
Reason
That's
will
the American
prevail.
It must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
President Biden calling on.
Good God, that's a handsome gentleman. And the newscaster, too. Hey-o! Pretty good speech. Pretty good speech from Joe Biden. Addressing a lot of the things I was hoping he would. Particularly, and I do apologize, my keyboard exploded during that. Nothing ever goes smooth, but that's okay. Addressing a lot of the things I would have hoped he was going to address, making a point to calm down the nation, making a point to say, hey, if you're on the left, I assume you're already chill, but continue to be chill, please. If you're on the right, hey, chill the fuck out. Massive oversimplification, but there it is essentially. And also dropping in a few important pieces of context, including the fact that the vast majority of this, which America needs to be aware of if we want this stuff to stop, coming from right-wingers. And by the vast majority, I mean all of it. 100% of it is coming from right-wingers, including the assassination attempt itself, apparently, from what we know so far, and the response to the assassination attempt, which was from these psychopaths to once again try their best to stir up political violence. So Joe Biden doing a great job there, also going the extra mile and pointing out that, hey, Russia's going to keep on interfering with our elections. So by the way, you out there, what you can do, this is a time where sensitive political events have happened. you can expect to see Russian bots out there stirring up controversy. When you're on social media, if you spot an account that seems to be stirring up controversy, check it out. Look for the signs. Has it only been around for a couple of months? Put it like this. Has it been around for less than a year? Does it only ever post things that are stirring up political upheaval? Report it. Report it to whatever website you're on. That is how you can keep the nation from going wackadoo. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Schmegley, our troops. Well, he did not shart on camera. He's a very good boy. Yeah. Only one of us did that. Obsessive audio. LOL, spacebar launched into space. Yeah. Literally, nothing goes smooth ever, but that's okay. The anti-corporatist clarity. Wait, let me go back up. BC Carlton Martin. The documents. Did we just erase the espionage? I'm not sure. Maybe. Anti-corporatist clarity. The so-called judge in Florida sure seems like she's going to. Oh yeah, she's trying her best. We genuinely might have to. I think we as a generation. I don't mean age necessarily. I mean people who are adults currently in 2024. I don't care if you're 18. I don't care if you're 108. This generation of people who's working to solve the world's problems right now are going to have to commit to putting Donald Trump in prison. He has had assistance from a corrupt system to stay out of prison. But we have to treat him like Al Capone. We know what we know. We've seen him on television, live, encouraging a coup. If a law does not exist yet that makes what he did illegal, truly, if that's the interpretation our current justice system comes back with, then we pause, we go over all the crimes we know he's committed, prosecute what we can, put him in prison, and then make new laws that make specifically what he did surrounding the coup illegal, so that the next person can't charge him at that point for those things, because the laws will have been made after he did the acts. But we ensure that then the next person can't do it. And we get him on the tax evasion. He's lived his whole life breaking the law. It is not inconceivable to go after a mob leader in that way. That's how we must treat Trump. And it has to be we the people that commit to this. We have to, everybody who we put into positions of power has to understand that they are there at least partially to put Trump away, because he is a menace to society. In fact, most Republicans who yet remain Republicans, in my opinion, are essentially just cowardly mobsters. They're mobsters who don't have the courage to roll up with Tommy guns and rattle up a place. But they're a criminal organization. They have been at least since the 80s, when the consent decree was put on them to stop voter intimidation, stop posting people with guns outside of polls, scaring off Democratic voters. Look it up. Look it up. Republican consent decree. Look it up. They were not allowed to post poll watchers until 2018 because they could not be trusted to do it. And they had to sign a decree that said they wouldn't do that or face a criminal trial for voter intimidation. They're a mob. That's all the Republicans are. So I'm of the belief that we should be working genuinely to put as many of these people in prison as we can. That should be a life goal for all of us. Sort of like how the Jews, who I think eventually founded the Mossad, but the Jews who survived the Holocaust made it a life goal to find all the Nazis and put them in a courtroom. We should be doing the same thing. We survived this by electing Joe Biden again. We go to work. And this is not top down. It's got to be bottom up. As we've seen through Biden and his weak Attorney General, Merrick Garland, they have no true interest in going after this. They only go after powerful people when we insist that they do. So we must insist that they do. That has to be a requirement for all people we put into power from this point out. And the Republican Party must become recognized as the criminal organization that it is, because they're killing Americans, including their own presidential candidate. That's how out of control they are. Speaking of, it's almost conspiracy time. Let's say hi to the audience one more time. Richard Hinckley. Wait a minute. Obsessive Audio. Copa America final match is delayed because of gate crashers. Some people can't even follow the simplest rules. True. Latino Mufune. Hello all. Hello to you, Latino Mufune. All right, let's talk conspiracy theories. Gang, we are talking conspiracy theories. Let me be crystal clear up front about why I'm doing this. There was just an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Like I have seen with basically all crimes that wind up in a newspaper, there's a lot of strange elements to it. And when you look at anything close enough, you see whatever you want. Let me be crystal clear. What is almost always true, not always, but just about always, is whatever the most boring explanation is. What happened with this? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. But most likely, a young man who we will, I suspect, find out had a bunch of other problems, saw what was happening in political life in America and decided that the way they were going to contribute was by being a murderer. They failed at killing the person they were apparently trying to kill. They only succeeded in gunning down an innocent person standing behind him, critically wounding 2 others, and breaking their parents' heart when the Secret Service killed him. That's all they succeeded in doing. I'll remind everybody real quick, political violence is always a bad idea. It is unethical. It's definitely immoral. But quite frankly, it's just bad strategy. Always has been. Always will be. Don't do it. But you're lefties. So I assume you won't do it. If you're watching the show, odds are you're lefties. Which brings us to the beginning of conspiracy time, because amongst the weird things, the Republican candidate for president was wounded from gunfire from a Republican. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a stone cold fact. What will make this a breeding ground for conspiracy theories is, now that we know that fact, it's going to be a few days before we know much else. It'll at least be mid-Monday before we learn much else. And good. Give it a little time. Understand that the people with information about this person just lost their son, their sibling, their friend, or their coworker. They're dealing with more than you are right now. Give them a minute to plan the funeral, to get their lives sorted. Give them a minute. And while they're taking that time, we can wildly speculate, because there is a bunch of weird stuff. I want to talk to you guys about some of the conspiracy theories I've already heard, why they're interesting, and why I think they're probably wrong. So, thing number one, this guy donated to the Democrats. Oh. And yet he was a registered Republican? Well, yeah, he donated apparently shortly after January 6th, when he would have been 17 years old, I think. And then later, he registered as a Republican and apparently voted as a Republican. So, odds are what we're seeing is a person who was conservative-minded, but not MAGA, saw Project 2025 and freaked out. Okay. But what if he was a secret plant? What if Trump put him up there on that roof and was trying to create a moment, and he asked this person, all right, listen, you got to shoot at me, but don't shoot me. You got to just hit the ear, all right? I want to cut off any conspiracy theory that involves Trump being brave enough to let somebody shoot at him with anything. If it can cut an ear, it can take out an eye. I don't believe that Trump has the courage to go through with such a plan. Okay, conspiracy theory number 2. Why was that guy even up there? Why was that guy even up there? There was people in the crowd. This is true. There was people in the crowd who say they saw the guy and were desperately telling police, there's a guy on a roof there. Right there. You can see him. I'm pointing at him, and that guy has a gun, and there's a presidential candidate right now. Right now? Right now. And there's a clear line of sight. And the police went, duh. Well, now, wait a minute. Now, there's a guy with a gun. Well, there's a presidential... Pow, 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 pow. What? Was it a conspiracy? Was it an inside job? Or the Secret Service trying to let something happen? Fascinating. Fascinating idea. Wild incompetence from the Secret Service, certainly. The 200-yard shot after we saw what happened to JFK, for God's sake. We should have dealt with that. Civilians were spotting the person. When you imagine the Secret Service at a presidential campaign event, do you not imagine every roof has like 2 people on it? Constantly scanning, doing one of these moves. They're supposed to be like defense ninjas. So why the hell did they let that happen? There actually is a explanation for this as well. And it may satisfy you. You may recall names like Tony Ornato. Trump's Secret Service operates very much the same way that all Trump organizations do. It's all yes men. It's all people that play Trump's ego games that get put in positions of power. To him, these positions are not to be filled by the most competent people he can find. These are gifts to be given to his friends. Trump's Secret Service detail, we've known for years now, is made up almost entirely of people he chose, that he likes. He gives those positions and advocates for those positions to be given to people he's comfortable with. And they're a bunch of MAGA morons. set aside for a moment how you feel about the politics of MAGA and just look at their ability to run organizations. They were some of the, like, Trump's government was one of the most disastrously run things in existence. For a while there, the majority of the appointed positions were temporary appointees. All of them. I should say not all of them. The majority of them. Temporary appointees. As in, there was people doing the job for 6 months, but they were never quite confirmed. Either because they could never get confirmed, because they just they couldn't pass the background checks necessary for the jobs Trump wanted to give them, or because Trump liked to dangle over their heads that they weren't confirmed yet. Not confirmed. Can still pick someone else. Maybe I will. Now, who said they were going to get new batteries for the Coke button? Oh, you're willing to do that now. You're willing to run to the store now. Neat. Neat. That's Trump's Secret Service now. Did they do a shitty job? Yup. But that's what I expect. Because they're Trump people. The Secret Service was already not a stellar organization. You remember when they just let that guy wander into the White House during Obama's time? They just let him wander around. They're an embarrassment already. But the Trump version of it? It's a clown show. I'm shocked they even realized that there was gunfire happening. That is the logical explanation. They're idiots. But it doesn't mean we don't do anything. People got to go to prison for this. If not prison, people got to get fired for this. Bare minimum. Like, these people can never be trusted. Like, you cannot, in good conscience, take anybody who was involved in leadership for that event, for the security of that event, and put them in charge of anything else. Because at that point, if you did that, you would have the liability for what goes wrong. Somebody died. Someone was shot to death because they failed. They got to be fired. We need an investigation into this. My understanding is an investigation has been opened into this already. Biden's White House opening an investigation into this. And I'm sure we're going to find out that a Trump sycophant was in charge. I honestly wonder if Trump will do anything to spare him. What other conspiracy theories about this do you have? That's what I ask you in the comments or you in the live show. Let me know. I'd love to address them. The other one I heard is that maybe Trump wounded himself, which is kind of interesting. I just go back to the same thing. I don't think he has the courage for it. Let me know. Have you heard any interesting conspiracy theories? I'd love to talk about them. And unfortunately, skeptic that I am, I think probably they're wrong. But that doesn't mean they aren't fun. Let me know in the comments. Schmegley, Trump should never have had Secret Service protection after Jan 6. I kind of disagree. I agree that he doesn't deserve it. Like, he doesn't deserve nice things at all. But if the U.S. government has reason to believe that a U.S. citizen's life is in danger, I feel they have an obligation to act. Even if that citizen turns out to be a traitor, until that's declared in a court of law, they have to protect that person. And it's been established that former U.S. presidents, all their lives are in danger. So even if they left in disgrace, there's an obligation from the U.S. government to protect them. Now, once he is declared a genuine traitor in a court of law, shoot, fuck him. But I don't want to give the ability to just declare that to the person who controls the guns. You know? I want to separate those powers. You don't get to make that decision if you're El General. I don't know what the word is. Generalissimo. I don't remember the name of the guy I'm trying to reference. You don't get to make that decision if you're the leader of the military or the leader of law enforcement. That is a job for a judge. I know we have corrupt judges. There are problems to address in America, but that doesn't mean we answer corruption with corruption of a different sort. The anti-corporatist. That's the new hack. Why bother to confirm people? Yeah. Donald James X. You don't even have to be MAGA to have a conspiratorial mind. When paranoia and confusion sets in, that's what happens. Yeah. Wireless Mike. Hi, everybody. I'm a little late, it would seem. I mean, it's not a... Well, I guess so. Yeah, we've been going for a minute here, haven't we? Good Lord. What I'm concerned about is why my reading says 46:46 out of an hour and 38 minutes. What's an hour and 38 minutes? Is that as long as I have left to stream in my whole YouTube account? John Bailey, Representative Mike Collins said Biden sent the orders. What rubbish. This is what we could use from you guys. How do we hold these punks to account? You know what? I'm writing down Representative Mike Collins. Here's what I'm going to do. I recommend you do the same. Contact news agencies in Mike Collins's district and ask them if they are going to hold Mike Collins responsible for stirring up trouble following political violence. Because Mike Collins ought to be ashamed for doing what he's doing. It's demagoguery. It's playing on people's fears for his own benefit. He should be ashamed. And since he's incapable of feeling shame through retrospection, through examining his own actions and comparing it to his moral beliefs, because he doesn't have morals because he's a Republican, we have to manufacture his shame. So contact local news agencies and ask them to grill this prick. Richard Hinckley, hi Biden. Yeah, Biden sent the orders, but didn't bother sending special forces or anything. Yeah, Biden sent the orders, and he sent a 20-year-old kid with glasses thick as molasses to do the shooting. Doesn't make sense. All right, gang. Zix1326, he has no shame. He's just a dick. Yeah, I believe it. Gang, thank you for joining me today. It was a quick one on a Sunday. It's been real. It's been fun. Something real fun. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow with another episode of WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and this is Donald James X.